power doesn't just corrupt, it blinds. And in the gleaming towers of Manhattan's financial district, no one was more blind than Gavin Langford. "You're fired." Two words that changed everything. Two words that Gavin Langford would come to regret more than any business decision in his 15-year career. Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Soul Thread Stories by T. I'm in a bind, and I need your help to ensure that I and my family can have food to eat and be able to pay our bills and mortgage. If you know you are not heartless and wicked, you'll smash that subscribe button and watch this story to the end so that your blessings will not pass you by. Also leave a comment telling me where you are watching this story from. You are all I have, and God will bless you and your family. Thank you. Have you ever witnessed someone underestimate a person they shouldn't have? That moment when they dismiss someone's worth, only to watch that same person rise beyond anything they could have imagined? If you have, drop a comment below, because today's story might feel eerily familiar. In the heart of Langford Enterprises, a Fortune 500 company worth billions, worked two people whose paths should never have crossed beyond professional boundaries. Gavin Langford stood at the helm, 38, devastatingly handsome, with piercing blue eyes that could freeze an executive at 20 paces. His suits cost more than most people's monthly rent. His watch collection worth more than their annual salary. A man who built his empire through calculated risks and ice-cold decisions. The business world called him brilliant. His employees called him ruthless. Both were right. Then there was Imani Brooks. At 27, she managed Gavin's impossible schedule with flawless precision. Her intelligence was matched only by her dignity. With master's degree gathering dust while she answered phones and arranged meetings, Imani represented everything Gavin never noticed. Talent overshadowed by circumstance, brilliance waiting for its moment to shine. "Just a secretary," he once remarked to a board member, while she stood within earshot. The words hung in the air like poison. But what happens when boundaries blur during one charged night? When power and attraction collide behind closed doors? When morning brings not just regret, but cruel calculation? And what happens 6 years later, when the tables completely turn? One corporate gala, one passionate encounter, one heartless firing, 6 years of transformation, and one boardroom meeting that would leave a billionaire completely speechless. The higher you climb, the harder you fall. And Gavin Langford was about to discover just how far he could tumble when faced with a woman he once dismissed as disposable. Because sometimes the person you step on while climbing to the top becomes the very same person waiting for you when you crash back down to earth. Have you ever witnessed someone underestimate a person they shouldn't have? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Soul Thread Stories for more tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Now, let's return to that fateful night when Gavin Langford made the biggest mistake of his life. Langford Enterprises occupied the top 15 floors of a glass monolith that pierced the New York skyline. From the 50th floor, Gavin's corner office commanded a view that reminded everyone who entered exactly where they stood. Beneath him, "The Jenkins proposal is garbage," Gavin announced, tossing the meticulously prepared document across the conference table. The young analyst who'd spent 3 sleepless nights preparing it visibly flinched. "Rewrite it by tomorrow morning or clear out your desk." No one dared meet the analyst's eyes. This was standard Gavin Langford procedure. Public execution as motivation technique. "Your 4 o'clock is here," Imani announced from the doorway, her voice steady despite the tension crackling through the room. Gavin checked his watch. $1.80, 000 Patek Philippe. "Everyone out, and someone get me actual competence next time." As executives filed past Imani, she gave the devastated analyst a discreet business card. "My cousin's firm is hiring," she whispered. "They value talent over fear." This was Imani's quiet rebellion, salvaging the careers Gavin demolished without a second thought. At her desk, 3 monitors displayed color-coded schedules, international time zones, and pending contracts. Her workspace functioned with military precision, a stark contrast to the chaos of her personal life. where her younger brother's medical bills threatened to consume her savings despite her generous salary. The Morgan files? Gavin's voice interrupted her thoughts. Without looking up, she handed him the folder from the precise stack on her right. Already annotated the sections requiring your approval. The Korean investors requested additional projections, which I've highlighted in blue. Gavin paused, struck once again by her effortless competence. He'd gone through 4 executive assistants before Imani. None had lasted more than 6 months. How's your brother? The question surprised them both. Imani glanced up. Better. The new treatment is working. A nod. Nothing more. Yet for Gavin, it was an unusual moment of personal interest. These moments have been occurring more frequently. Brief exchanges that venture beyond professional boundaries. At lunch, Imani sat alone in the staff cafeteria, reviewing night class assignments on corporate law. Her plan was precise. Secretary to paralegal to corporate attorney within 5 years. Langford Enterprises merely a stepping stone. Mind if I join you? Rebecca Chun, the chief marketing officer, slid into the seat across from her, one of the few women in senior leadership. Rebecca had always treated Imani as a peer rather than support staff. The gala tomorrow night is Gavin's opportunity to court Westbrook Industries, Rebecca said, lowering her voice. He specifically requested you handle the seating arrangements. Already done, Imani replied. No, I mean he wants you there. Not working behind the scenes. Attending. Imani's fork froze midway to her mouth. That's not my place. Apparently it is now. His exact words. Imani knows these clients better than half my executive team. Take the win, Imani. That afternoon, a delivery arrived at Imani's desk. A black garment bag from Bergdorf Goodman with a handwritten note. Appropriate attire required. Consider it a bonus. GL. Inside was a burgundy gown that probably cost more than her rent. The gesture crossed every professional boundary. Yet Imani understood the calculation behind it. She wasn't being invited as herself. She was being dressed as an extension of Langford Enterprises. Later, as she worked late finalizing details for the gala, Gavin emerged from his office, suit jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms marked with unexpected scars. She'd never noticed them before. You don't have to accept the dress, he said, catching her off guard. It's beautiful but unnecessary. You've saved this company millions by catching mistakes others miss. Consider it an investment. Their eyes met, and something shifted in the carefully maintained space between them. For a moment, he wasn't the ruthless CEO, and she wasn't just a secretary. The Westbrook CEO respects you, Gavin continued. I need this acquisition. And there it was, the truth behind the invitation, the dress, the momentary kindness. Everything was strategic. I'll be there, she replied, voice cool and professional once more. As Gavin walked away, he paused. That color will suit you. Then he was gone, leaving Imani with the unsettling realization that he'd chosen the dress himself. The next evening, as she slipped into a gown that fit as if it had been measured to her body, Imani made a decision. After tonight's gala, she would hand in her resignation. The shifting boundaries between her and Gavin Langford were becoming too dangerous to navigate. What she couldn't know was that by morning, resignation would be the furthest thing from her mind, and Gavin Langford would have already made that decision for her. The Waldorf Astoria ballroom glittered under crystal chandeliers, each light point reflecting off champagne flutes and diamond cufflinks. Langford Enterprises' annual gala wasn't just a celebration. It was a performance of power. 100 tables draped in midnight blue silk, centerpieces of white orchids rising like sculptures. At the center of it all, Gavin Langford worked the room with practiced precision. There she is, murmured Rebecca, appearing at Imani's side as she entered. Half the executive floor is wondering who you are. The burgundy dress moved like liquid against Imani's skin, its neckline modest, but the open back revealing more than she typically allowed in professional settings. She'd swept her hair up, exposing the elegant curve of her neck. Across the room, Gavin faltered mid-sentence when he spotted her. For 3 heartbeats. He simply stared, his expression unreadable. "Mr. Westbrook is asking for you," Imani informed him professionally when she approached, aware of curious eyes tracking their interaction. Gavin's hand brushed the small of her back as they navigated toward the Westbrook table. "You clean up well, Miss Brooks," he said, his voice dropping to a register she'd never heard before. "As do you, Mr. Langford." His custom tuxedo transformed him from merely handsome to devastating. Throughout dinner, Imani charmed the Westbrook team with insights about their company that surprised even Gavin. She'd done her research, memorizing details that made the potential clients feel valued. Every time she spoke, Gavin's eyes lingered on her a moment longer than necessary. "Dance with me," he said later, as the orchestra began a slow waltz. It wasn't a request. On the dance floor, his hand at her waist burned through the thin fabric. "You're the most valuable person in this room," he said quietly. "Because I'm helping you close Westbrook? Because you see what others miss." His fingers traced small circles against her bare back. "Including me." The space between them narrowed with each step of the dance. The professional barrier they'd maintained for 3 years was dissolving under the weight of something neither had acknowledged. "What exactly are we doing, Gavin?" she asked, using his first name for the first time. His eyes darkened. "Breaking rules." After the gala, when most guests had departed, Gavin handed her a glass of 30-year-old scotch in a quiet corner of the hotel bar. "To successful negotiations," he toasted. Westbrook signed. "Preliminary agreement. Your insights about their daughter's environmental foundation sealed it." "I pay attention," she said simply. "To everything," he agreed, studying her face with new intensity. "Why do you stay? With your mind, you could be running your own division by now." The question caught her off guard. "You know why. Your brother's medical insurance." He nodded. "But there's more." She held his gaze. "Perhaps I've been waiting for you to see me as more than just a secretary." The air between them charged with electricity. Years of professional distance collapsed into a gravity neither could resist any longer. "My suite is upstairs," he said, voice rough, in the private elevator. They stood inches apart, not touching, the tension building to an unbearable degree. The key card fumbled in his usually steady hands. Once inside, Gavin didn't turn on the lights. The city glowed through floor-to-ceiling windows, painting them in silver and shadow. He moved toward her slowly, giving her every chance to walk away. She didn't. Their first kiss was tentative, almost questioning. The second shattered all pretense. His hands cradled her face with unexpected gentleness, even as her fingers worked at his tie, his buttons. Each layer removed revealed more the man behind the empire. The scars on his arms continued across his chest, telling stories of a past he never discussed. "You're trembling," she whispered against his neck. "I wanted this for longer than I should admit," he confessed. When he unzipped her dress, letting it pool at her feet, his sharp intake of breath was more powerful than any compliment. They moved to the bedroom, where his control facade crumbled completely. His mouth traced paths along her collarbone, down the curve of her breast, across her stomach. Each touch was a revelation, the mighty Gavin Langford worshipping rather than commanding. When he paused, looking up at her with naked vulnerability, Imani saw the boy beneath the billionaire, seeking connection rather than conquest. "You're beautiful," he breathed, the words catching in his throat. When they finally came together, the power dynamic that defined their professional relationship dissolved. In this realm, they were equals, each giving, each taking, each discovering the person hidden behind their workplace masks. Afterward, tangled in sheets worth more than Imani's monthly salary, Gavin revealed fragments of himself she'd never imagined existed. The scars came from his father, a cruel man who'd beaten ambition into his son. The ruthlessness wasn't strategy. It was armor. "No one has ever seen me like this," he admitted, tracing patterns on her bare shoulder. "Maybe that's the problem," she replied. As dawn painted the sky in watercolor blues and pinks, Reality began seeping back. Imani watched Gavin's expression change subtly as the night spell faded. His phone buzzed on a nightstand, the outside world intruding. Something cold and calculating returned to his eyes as he checked the message, and Imani knew, with sudden clarity, that whatever magic had existed between them was evaporating with the morning light. Gavin's phone buzzed again. The message was from the company's general counsel. Need to discuss HR policy on inter-office relationships. Urgent. Someone had seen them. He glanced at Imani, still wrapped in sheets, her face peaceful in the early morning light. For one fleeting moment, he considered a different path, one where he acknowledged what had happened between them, where he explored the connection that had ignited so unexpectedly. Then reality crashed in, the Westbrook deal, the board meeting next week, his carefully cultivated image as an untouchable force in business. Imani opened her eyes, immediately reading the change in him. Gavin, this was a mistake, he said, voice flat as he reached for his discarded clothes. A lapse in judgment. Her expression didn't change, but something died behind her eyes. I see. I have an early meeting. He wouldn't look at her as he buttoned his shirt. Take your time. Order room service if you want. By 7:30 a.m., Gavin sat in his office, staring at a dossier Human Resources had prepared on Imani Brooks. 3 years of exemplary performance reviews. Countless notes of praise from clients. Not a single disciplinary issue. None of that mattered now. What mattered was containing the damage. His intercom buzzed. Ms. Brooks has arrived, sir. Send her in. His voice was ice. Imani entered. Professional as always in a crisp black suit. No trace of last night visible except for a shadow behind her eyes. You wanted to see me? Gavin didn't stand. Your position has been terminated, effective immediately. The color drained from her face. What? Security will escort you to clear your desk. You'll receive 4-week severance, contingent upon signing a confidentiality agreement. He slid a document across his desk without meeting her eyes. Is this because of last night? Her voice barely above a whisper. This is a business decision. Finally, he looked at her, his expression unreadable. Your performance no longer meets company standards. My performance? Disbelief cracked through her composure. You praised my work 12 hours ago, before you took me to bed. That will be all, Ms. Brooks. She didn't move. My brother's insurance. Ends today. As I said, for week severance. Imani stared at him, the full weight of his betrayal sinking in. You're not just firing me. You're potentially killing my brother. Something flickered in Gavin's eyes. Doubt, perhaps regret, but vanished quickly. I suggest you sign the agreement. You won't get a better offer. A security guard appeared at the door. Imani straightened her spine, dignity pulling her shoulders back despite the crushing weight on her chest. I won't sign. She placed the unsigned document back on his desk. And I won't forget. By noon, whispers raced through the office. Imani Brooks, escorted out by security. No explanation given. Theories multiplied. Embezzlement leaked company secrets. A screaming match with the CEO. The truth remained between Gavin and Imani. Rebecca Chun caught up with her at the elevator. This is wrong, she whispered, pressing a business card into Imani's hand. Call me. My friend needs a personal assistant at Johnson Medical. They have excellent health benefits. Imani's eyes welled, the first crack in her facade. Thank you. As she crossed the marble lobby, employees stopped to watch. The secretary, who knew everyone's name, remembered their birthdays, helped new hires navigate Gavin's impossible standards. Gone without explanation. At the revolving doors, Imani paused. Through the glass, she could see the top of the building, where Gavin's office overlooked the city. For 3 years, she'd been invisible despite being essential. For one night, she'd been seen. And now she was erased. A single tear escaped, which she wiped away with steady fingers. Then, Clutching the box containing 3 years of her life, Imani Brooks stepped into the sunlight, leaving behind the tower that had promised security but delivered betrayal. Would you have fought back or walked away? Let me know in the comments below. The cardboard box sat untouched in Imani's apartment for 3 weeks. Inside lay framed certificates, a desk plant that was slowly dying, and a photo of her brother Elijah on his high school graduation day. Artifacts from a life suddenly interrupted. They called again. Her roommate said, placing another medical bill on the kitchen counter. The insurance company says your coverage ended. Imani stared at the mounting pile. Without Langford's premium health insurance, Elijah's treatment costs had skyrocketed beyond reach. She had exactly 18 days of savings left before financial collapse. She called Rebecca Chin the next morning. The position at Johnson Medical was filled yesterday, Rebecca said, genuine regret in her voice. But I've been thinking about you. What if getting fired is the best thing that could have happened? Imani laughed bitterly. My brother needs $4,000 worth of medication monthly. Listen to me. For 3 years, I watched you manage impossible situations, create systems that save millions, and handle difficult people with grace. You have talents Gavin never fully appreciated. That afternoon, Imani sat beside Elijah's hospital bed, watching his chest rise and fall with each labored breath. At 19, his body was betraying him while his mind remained sharp. Stop looking at me like I'm dying, he said, eyes closed. I lost the insurance. The words fell like stones in her mouth. Elijah opened his eyes. Then get it back. Not from him, on your terms. That night, Imani emptied her 401k despite the penalties, paying for 6 months of Elijah's care out of pocket. Then she applied to complete her law degree with a focus on healthcare policy. Meanwhile, across town, Gavin Langford signed the Westbrook acquisition paperwork, the largest deal in company history. The boardroom erupted in applause. He smiled mechanically, his eyes scanning the room for a face that was no longer there. No one had managed his calendar properly since Imani left. 3 replacements had come and gone, none lasting longer than 4 months. Drink? Asked the CFO afterward. Too much work, Gavin replied, retreating to his office where the silence pressed against him like a physical weight. 18 months passed. Imani completed her degree with honors while working 3 part-time jobs. During a healthcare policy seminar, she found herself questioning the professor's assertions about employer-provided benefits. The entire system is broken, she argued. Companies view benefits as a cost center rather than an investment in human capital. The professor arched an eyebrow. So fix it, Ms. Brooks. The challenge ignited something. That weekend, while sitting beside Elijah during his treatment, she outlined a business model on the back of his medical chart, a new approach to corporate benefits that centered human dignity and community integration. You'll need funding, Elijah pointed out, and clients and expertise, and a million other things. Imani sighed. So? Start small. 1 client. Prove it works. Her first client was a struggling bakery with 10 employees who couldn't afford traditional insurance. Imani created a cooperative arrangement with 3 other small businesses, negotiating rates as a collective while implementing wellness programs that reduced overall healthcare costs. The model worked. Word spread. By year 3, Brooks Benefit Solutions occupied a small office in Queens with 4 employees. Imani's approach, treating employees as assets rather than expenses, attracted companies tired of traditional benefit structures. Her background in law gave her leverage in negotiations with insurance providers. At Langford Enterprises, Gavin's professional success continued unabated. The company expanded internationally. Stock prices soared, and his personal wealth multiplied. Yet each victory felt increasingly hollow. The corporate culture assessment results are concerning, his HR director reported. Employee satisfaction has dropped 28% in 2 years. Turnover is at an all-time high. Implement better perks, Gavin ordered. Gym memberships, catered lunches, whatever it takes. But free food couldn't fix what was broken. Without realizing it, Gavin had created a company in his own image, outwardly successful but internally disconnected. In year 4, Imani faced her biggest challenge when Elijah's condition worsened. Between hospital visits, she pitched to investors, securing funding to expand her company's reach. She transformed her personal pain into her business's core mission, ensuring no employee had to choose between career and caring for loved ones. Brooks Benefit Solutions pioneered family care programs, mental health support, and community health initiatives that reduced overall health care costs while improving outcomes. Companies reported higher retention rates, increased productivity, and stronger team cohesion after implementing her programs. "You've created something revolutionary," her lead investor told her as they toured potential office spaces for expansion. "I created something necessary," Imani corrected. When Westbrook Industries, Langford's former client, approached Brooks Benefit Solutions, Imani recognized the irony. Their CEO remembered her from the gala 6 years earlier. "You made an impression," he said. "Langford never quite recovered from losing you." By year 5, Brooks Benefit Solutions had outgrown 3 offices. Elijah's health had stabilized enough for him to join the company, heading their client advocacy department. The warehouse conversion in Brooklyn became their headquarters, a physical manifestation of Imani's vision of transparency, collaboration, and human-centered design. Forbes featured her in 40 Under 40, describing her company as revolutionizing how corporations view employee well-being. The article noted that several Fortune 500 companies had implemented her model, reporting significant improvements in retention and productivity. Gavin Langford saw the article while flying back from a conference in Tokyo. The photo showed Imani standing confidently in a sunlit office, employees gathered around her in a casual meeting space. Her smile reached her eyes now, something he realized had rarely happened during her time at Langford. He set down the magazine, a strange emptiness expanding in his chest. While he'd been accumulating wealth and power, she had been building something with meaning. That night, alone in his penthouse overlooking the city, Gavin confronted an uncomfortable truth. His company was losing ground to smaller, more innovative firms. Firms like Brooks Benefit Solutions. Sometimes his executive coach had once told him, "What we throw away becomes more valuable than what we keep." He hadn't understood then. Now, staring at Imani's success while facing his company's declining culture, the words returned with painful clarity. 6 years later, Langford Enterprises faced a crisis. Their market dominance was slipping as smaller, nimbler companies disrupted the industry with innovative approaches to corporate wellness and employee benefits. "We need fresh blood," announced Gavin to his executive team, his voice harder than before, new lines etched around his eyes. Acquisition is faster than innovation. The boardroom, once an arena of unchallenged authority, now felt like a battleground. 3 consecutive quarters of declining profits had shareholders questioning his leadership for the first time. "We've identified 5 potential acquisition targets," said Rebecca Chun, now Chief Strategy Officer. She slid folders across the polished table. "This one is particularly promising." Gavin opened the top folder. Brooks Benefit Solutions? Founded 5 years ago. Revolutionary approach to corporate wellness that integrates medical benefits with community development. Their client retention rate is 98%. Something flashed across Gavin's face. A memory, perhaps, but disappeared quickly. "Never heard of them." "That's because they don't chase publicity," Rebecca replied. "But they've captured 22% of our former client base, including Westbrook Industries." Gavin's head snapped up. "Westbrook left us?" 3 years ago. They claim Brooks offers a human touch we lack. The acquisition team moved quickly. Initial meetings were conducted by Langford's attorneys, while Gavin focused on reassuring anxious shareholders. The Brooks team proved surprisingly formidable in negotiations, demanding unusual concessions, autonomy post-acquisition, protection for their existing corporate culture, guaranteed positions for their leadership team. They're negotiating like they hold all the cards, Gavin complained during a strategy session. Maybe they do, countered his CFO. Their growth metrics are extraordinary. If we don't acquire them, Harrison Global will. The final negotiation was scheduled for Thursday. Gavin insisted on handling it personally, determined to assert dominance over this upstart company challenging his terms. Who exactly am I meeting? He asked Rebecca the night before. Their founder and CEO. She hesitated. The company's named after her. I assumed you'd made the connection. Brooks is a common name. But a coldness settled in his stomach. She's requested the meeting take place at their headquarters rather than ours. Absolutely not. It's non-negotiable, according to their counsel. Gavin's jaw tightened. Fine. The next morning, his driver pulled up to a renovated warehouse in Brooklyn. Unlike the steel and glass monuments to corporate power that Gavin preferred, Brooks Benefit Solutions occupied a former industrial space transformed into a light-filled campus. Living walls of plants flanked the entrance. Through glass partitions, he observed employees working in collaborative spaces, no hierarchy evident in the layout. A young receptionist greeted him. Mr. Langford, welcome to Brooks. The team is assembled in the Sky Room. May I escort you? Who exactly will be joining us, he asked, an unfamiliar anxiety tightening his chest. Just our CEO and founder. The receptionist smiled. She prefers to handle important decisions personally. As they approached the glass-walled conference room overlooking the Manhattan skyline, Gavin caught a glimpse of a woman with her back to the door. Something about her posture, the elegant line of her neck, triggered a long-buried memory. The receptionist opened the door. Mr. Langford has arrived, Ms. Brooks. As she turned to face him, 6 years collapsed into a single, breathless moment. Can you imagine facing someone who once dismissed you, but now needs what you've built? If you believe in karma, drop a comment below. Imani. Her name escaped his lips before he could stop it. She stood framed against a Manhattan skyline, no longer the woman he'd dismissed 6 years ago. This Imani wore confidence like a second skin, a tailored navy suit, natural hair styled in an elegant updo, and eyes that held no trace of the devastation he'd once inflicted. Mr. Langford. Her voice was cool, professional. Please have a seat. His legs moved automatically while his mind struggled to reconcile the secretary he'd fired with the CEO now controlling the meeting. The conference room felt suddenly airless. Water? She gestured the carafe on the table. When he didn't respond, she poured him a glass anyway, sliding it across the polished surface with the same efficiency she'd once shown handling his schedule. Your Brooks Benefit Solutions. It wasn't a question, but a realization spoken aloud. I am. A small smile played at her lips. Though I suspect you didn't make the connection until now. Gavin's throat constricted. The acquisition documents in his briefcase suddenly felt like a confession of failure. He'd come to absorb her company into his empire, but now understood with crystal clarity that she had orchestrated this meeting. Your lawyers have been quite thorough, he managed, trying to regain his footing. I learned from watching you. She opened a folder. Shall we begin? Your time is valuable, as is mine. 2 associates joined them, bringing the total to 3 on Imani's side versus Gavin alone, a deliberate choice that didn't escape his notice. She denied him the comfort of his team. As they discussed valuation and integration strategies, Gavin found himself struggling to focus. His eyes kept returning to her hands. Steady, confident, the same hands that had traced the scars 6 years ago. Your client acquisition strategy is impressive, he said during a pause. We focus on relationships rather than transactions. Her gaze held his. People remember how you make them feel, Mr. Langford. Something you taught me. Ironically, the room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Halfway through the presentation, Elijah Brooks entered with additional data. Gavin recognized him immediately from the photo that had once sat on Imani's desk. My brother and chief operating officer, Imani introduced, the one whose medical treatments were jeopardized when you terminated my position and benefits without notice. Elijah's handshake was firm, his eyes revealing nothing. "Mr. Langford, your reputation precedes you." The implication hung in the air like smoke. When they reached the terms of acquisition, Imani's team presented conditions that made Gavin's jaw clench. Brooks would retain operational autonomy. Their entire leadership team would remain intact. Their corporate culture would be preserved. "These terms are unprecedented," Gavin finally said. "So is our growth trajectory." Imani slid a chart across the table. "Your company needs our innovation more than we need your capital." For the first time in his career, Gavin Langford had no leverage. The realization hit him with physical force. "Why agree to acquisition at all?" he asked, the question escaping before he could filter it. Imani leaned forward, her expression unreadable. "Excellent question. Perhaps I want to complete the circle." Their eyes locked, and 6 years compressed into a single moment of understanding. She hadn't forgotten. This meeting wasn't just business. It was the culmination of a journey that began the morning he discarded her. "We'll take a 15-minute break," Imani announced. "Mr. Langford might need time to consider our position." As her team filed out, she remained, studying him with clinical detachment. The woman who had once anticipated his needs before he expressed them now regarded him as just another business obstacle to navigate. "You built all this in 6 years, he finally said, gesturing to the space around them. "I built it starting the day you fired me." The simplicity of her statement rendered him speechless. No accusations, no bitterness. Just a fact, delivered with the quiet confidence of someone who had transformed pain into purpose. In that moment, roles completely reversed. Gavin Langford, the man whose words could make or break billion-dollar deals, found himself utterly without speech, faced with the living consequence of his worst decision. After the meeting concluded, papers signed and teams dispersed, Imani found Gavin lingering by the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Brooklyn waterfront. The sunset painted the sky in fierce oranges and reds, a fitting backdrop to the day's revelations. "Your team is quite thorough," he said without turning. "They've thought of everything. I hired people smarter than me in their respective fields." She moved to stand beside him, maintaining a careful distance. "Another lesson I learned at Langford Enterprises." His reflection in the glass looked older than his 44 years. Success had carved lines around his eyes that wealth couldn't erase. "I've rehearsed this moment," he admitted. "Over the years, I imagined running into you. I crafted perfect explanations, justifications even. Now they all sound hollow. They always were." He turned to face her directly. "I'm sorry, Imani, not just for firing you, but for how I did it, for what it nearly cost your brother." She studied him, her expression neutral. "Why did you do it?" "Fear." The admission seemed to physically pain him. "Not scandal or workplace complications. I was afraid of how you made me feel. Vulnerable. Seen. It was easier to remove you than face that. You almost destroyed me." "I know." "No, you don't." Her voice remained calm. "For months, I had to choose between paying rent and buying Elijah's medication. I worked 3 jobs while finishing my degree. I built this company with nothing but determination and the absolute certainty that there was a better way to treat people." Gavin's shoulders slumped slightly. "You succeeded beyond anyone's expectations, including yours, especially mine." He gestured to the vibrant office beyond the glass walls. "You've created something remarkable here, something I couldn't have envisioned." A small smile touched her lips. "That's the irony, isn't it? If you hadn't fired me, I'd still be managing your calendar." The weight of that alternate reality hung between them, both lives forever altered by one brutal morning. "Where do we go from here?" he asked. "The acquisition will proceed as outlined," she finished. "Your company needs our innovation, and we can scale faster with your resources. But make no mistake, Gavin, this isn't a reunion or redemption story. It's business." He nodded, accepting the boundary. "And us, There is no us. There's you, there's me, and there's a professional relationship defined by mutual benefit. She straightened her jacket. My team will work with yours on the transition. I expect you to honor every term we've negotiated. I will. He hesitated, then added, you were right, by the way, about the human element. Langford Enterprises lost something when you left. Not just your skills, your perspective, the way you value people beyond their utility. Imani considered this. Perhaps that's your opportunity now. To learn what I've built here isn't just a benefits model. It's a different way of seeing business entirely. As they walked toward the elevator, the power dynamic between them had fundamentally shifted. The man who had once wielded authority over her career now followed half a step behind, a student rather than a master. At the elevator, she extended her hand. I'll see you at the integration meeting next Tuesday, Mr. Langford. He took her hand, noting the firm grip that matched his own. Ms. Brooks. As the doors closed between them, Gavin Langford understood with perfect clarity that the acquisition he pursued would transform his company in ways he hadn't anticipated, and perhaps, in the process, would transform him too. If the story of redemption and justice touched you, hit the subscribe button and join our Soul Thread family for more powerful stories every week.